this fight isn't random. It's a stepping stone. A test to prove he can hang with real fighters. With days left before the bell, the world of boxing split in two. Some called it an embarrassment. Others, a revolution. But one thing was certain, the eyes of the world would be watching. As the lights dim in Miami and the crowd roars, two men step into the ring from completely different worlds. One, a viral phenomenon who turned mockery into millions. The other, a world champion who turned pain into power. Only one will walk out with their legacy intact, because in this sport, no matter how much you talk, no matter how much you weigh, when that bell rings, only the truth remains. This is Jake Paul vs. Gervonta "Tank" Davis. The fight that changed everything. Who do you think wins, the YouTuber turned fighter, or the fighter born for war? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. But if boxing has proven anything in the last decade, it's that money always finds a way. Jake Paul's influence reaches beyond the ring. He's not just fighting, he's producing, promoting, and redefining what it means to be a boxing star. Love him or hate him, Jake Paul has made boxing matter again. While purists slammed the matchup as a mockery, others saw genius. Jake Paul's doing what boxing failed to do, bring in new fans. He's making casual viewers care again. And maybe that's true. Because while critics debated weight classes, millions of fans lined up for pay-per-view. The sport was alive again, messy, unpredictable, but alive. Inside Jake Paul's camp, sparring sessions turned brutal. Trainers described him as obsessed, studying Davis's every movement, planning every counter. Former fighter BJ Flores revealed that Jake was constantly evolving, building his strength, mastering combinations, and learning how to weaponize his size. Even Ryan Garcia joined the conversation. He called the matchup a disgrace, unfair, absurd, and dangerous. But he also admitted something else, that people would still watch. Because controversy sells. And in today's boxing world, hype is sometimes more powerful than belts. Former world champion Carl Froch didn't mince words either. Jake Paul was supposed to fight Anthony Joshua, that was nearly 99% done. Now he's fighting Gervonta Davis, basically one of AJ's legs. It's a joke. From heavyweight giants to lightweight assassins, Jake Paul was rewriting boxing logic one headline at a time, and even the legends couldn't ignore it. Then came Terrence "Bud" Crawford, a man who knows what real boxing looks like. He didn't buy into the spectacle. To him, this was a mismatch in disguise. Jake's just too big. One clean shot, and it's over. When weigh-ins were announced, the math was brutal. Jake Paul, 199.5 pounds. Gervonta Davis, 133.5. A gap of over 65 pounds, unheard of in modern boxing. The Georgia State Athletic Commission rejected the initial venue, calling it unsafe. The fight had to be moved to Miami under a 195-pound exhibition cap. Even then, Jake's frame dwarfed Davis's. But the smaller man didn't flinch. In training footage, Tank slipped, countered, and exploded with the kind of timing that could erase size in a split second. The fans began to wonder, could he actually pull it off? For Jake Paul, spectacle isn't a byproduct, it's a strategy. From smashing a tank-shaped cake on camera to mocking Davis at press events, Jake controlled the headlines like a maestro. He wasn't just selling a fight, he was selling a story where he's the villain and the hero all at once. And the audience couldn't look away. This isn't a fair fight. It's a spectacle, a money grab. The weight difference makes it a circus, not competition. And yet, despite the criticism, the hype only grew. The fight was officially sanctioned as an exhibition, a label that tried, but failed, to calm the chaos. Because fans knew, when these two stepped into the ring, labels wouldn't matter. In the months leading up to the announcement, Tank Davis had been fighting another kind of battle, mental exhaustion. Rumors spread that he had lost passion for boxing. Some even whispered about retirement. Then came the headlines, legal troubles, public criticism, and personal lows. But when the Jake Paul offer landed, everything changed. A chance to silence doubters. A chance to show the world that Tank was still the beast that terrified the lightweight division. And yes, a chance to cash in on one of the biggest paydays of his career. And that's the paradox of the matchup, a smaller man with world-class ability, facing a bigger man who built his brand on bravado. Jake Paul had the reach, the weight, and the power. But Tank Davis had the experience, the explosiveness, and the will. It was the classic question revived: does size matter more than skill? When they finally met face-to-face in Miami, the tension was nuclear. Cameras flashed as Jake Paul leaned forward, smirking, towering over the smaller Davis. And then, Tank shoved him. The crowd erupted. Security swarmed. And for the first time, Jake Paul looked shaken. That clip alone racked up millions of views overnight. Fans said it all. This isn't a show anymore. Tank means business. As the headlines multiplied, the voices of boxing began to weigh in. Jake Paul's got the size, yeah, but Davis is levels above in terms of skill. He's not just fighting an influencer, he's fighting a real killer. But not everyone approved. Over the years, Gervonta Davis has been known for his precision and raw knockout ability. But this new version, this was something else. Insiders from his Baltimore camp described Davis as heavier, faster, meaner. Photos showed thicker arms, broader shoulders, and a tighter core. His punches snapped with new ferocity, each one echoing through the gym like a thunderclap. Experts said he wasn't bulking for show, he was bulking for war. And the target of that war was Jake Paul. From the beginning, the controversy was impossible to ignore. Jake Paul, a cruiserweight at nearly 200 pounds. Gervonta Davis, a natural lightweight, 135 on fight night. That's over 65 pounds of difference. You've got one guy who fights at 135 and another who fights at 200. That alone makes it ridiculous, but Tank's skill level? That's what changes everything. It all started with a simple call-out, playful, almost absurd. Jake Paul, standing nearly 6 feet tall, weighing close to 200 pounds, teasing the idea of fighting a man who usually weighs 135. Fans laughed. Critics dismissed it. But Davis didn't. Because Gervonta Davis doesn't joke about fighting. In his world, every challenge is a test of pride. Soon, clips from Davis's training camp began to surface, a stronger, bulked-up version of Tank. A man on a mission. The once compact lightweight now looked like a natural welterweight, shredded, powerful, and terrifyingly focused. As footage went viral, the internet exploded. Had Tank really decided to move up and take on Jake Paul? And if so, had Jake finally gone too far? They call him a clown, an entertainer, a YouTuber turned boxer who somehow forced his way into the sport's biggest conversations. Jake Paul, the man boxing fans love to hate, has built a career out of confidence, controversy, and chaos. But this time, the storm feels different. Because across from him stands a name that carries pure danger, Gervonta "Tank" Davis. A knockout machine with dynamite in both hands. A man who's never feared anyone, and never backed down from a challenge. Now, their worlds are set to collide. Size versus skill. Power versus precision. Showmanship versus savagery. This is the fight no one thought would happen. Jake Paul versus Gervonta "Tank" Davis.